Wake up. Please, wake up.
The wind carried dust and memory that evening across the Callahan Ranch, dry, brittle, and endless as regret. Jack Callahan stood by the old barn, one hand resting on a weathered post, the other gripping a rusted crowbar. His hat-shadowed eyes that had seen too much sun and too little mercy. The sky was red over the mesas, a burning scar fading into night. It had been a bad season. Too little rain, too many deaths. The cattle were skin and bones, the wells were giving up mud, and the bank had sent its final notice. He had tried everything. Sold the horses, mortgaged the fields, even bartered his saddle gun to keep the ranch running another month. But time had turned against him. And now, standing in the barn that still smelled faintly of hay and ghosted laughter, Jack faced the thing his father had once warned him about. Beneath the warped floorboards, half buried in dust, was a small iron chest. He'd found it that morning while fixing a rotted beam. The crowbar had slipped and struck metal. His father's voice came back to him then, like an echo from some far-off canyon. "If you ever find it, boy, don't open it until you've got nothing left to lose." Jack had laughed the first time he'd heard it, back when he still believed that loss was something you could measure. But years had a way of teaching that pain didn't come by the pound. Now, with the ranch dying and his heart emptier than the land around him, he finally understood what his father meant. He dropped to one knee and cleared the dirt away, exposing the box. "Nothing left," he muttered under his breath. "So I guess this is the time." The chest was iron-bound, heavy, the kind a man used to keep secrets rather than gold. The lock had rusted away decades ago, so Jack wedged the crowbar beneath the lid and heaved. It groaned open like an old man waking from a bad dream. Dust rose in a soft cloud, stinging his eyes. Inside was not what he expected. No gold, no coins, no map to buried treasure. Just an oilskin bundle, a Colt revolver, and a letter sealed with wax. Jack froze. His heart thumped once, hard enough to hurt. He reached for the revolver first. It was clean, almost too clean for its age, and on the wooden grip were two letters carved deep. J.C., his father's initials. The old man had always said he carried that gun through Texas Ranger days and into the wars that followed, but Jack had never seen it with his own eyes. He held it now, heavy with history, and a strange calm washed over him. Then he reached for the letter. The wax seal broke easily under his thumb, and the paper, though yellowed, was still strong. The handwriting was his father's, bold and steady, the kind of script that looked carved rather than written. "Son, if you're reading this, I figure I ain't around to tell you in person. You've always been headstrong, and that'll serve you well so long as it don't blind you to truth. What you're looking for ain't gold. It's the courage to start again. If you find this chest, you've likely come to the end of something. But endings, boy, they ain't graves, they're doors. There's a deed in this box. It belongs to you now. What you do with it, that's where your fortune lies. Your father, Thomas Callahan." Jack stared at the paper for a long while, the words blurring as the sun bled lower through the cracks in the barn wall. Beneath the letter, folded neatly, was another document, the deed. The name Callahan stretched across it like a promise. He squinted to read it in the fading light, and his breath caught. The deed wasn't for his own ranch. It was for the McGraw spread next door, a long stretch of land that had bordered the Callahans for generations. He remembered the stories now, how his father had once helped old man McGraw through a rough year, something about drought and debt. But he'd never mentioned buying the land outright. Jack's mind spun. Why had he kept this hidden? Why hadn't he told him? He walked to the barn door and pushed it open. The air was cooling, the light turning gold and violet. From where he stood, he could see across the dry fence line to the old McGraw place. Once it had been green, rolling pasture, the sound of horses, the smell of clover, and for a while it had been home to someone else too. Clara McGraw. Her name hit him like a hammer to the chest. She'd been fire and softness all at once. Dark hair, sharp eyes, a laugh that could quiet thunder. He'd asked her to marry him once, back before his father's passing, before life had turned bitter. But she'd left without a word, following a gambler south to Yuma. He'd heard rumors she'd come back once or twice. but he'd never gone looking. Pride was a stubborn thing. Jack turned the letter over in his hands, reading his father's words again. The courage to start again. Maybe that was the point of it all. Not the land, not the inheritance, but the invitation to rebuild. The old man had known he'd fall. Maybe he'd even counted on it. The wind shifted suddenly, carrying